Hi students. Well, it's time for art class, and let's talk about grading and deadlines first before we go to the Godzilla of the week. First, I've included deadlines or due dates on your projects just so that you know when I want to collect them. Now, if you finish them early, that's sometimes I've had a couple students finish them a little early and they turn it in sooner, that's fine. Um, Even if you turn it in later, that's fine. Because sometimes you miss your pod time and you just can't turn it in. I understand. Just turn it in next time as soon as you can. But after the due date, in Power School, I'll put a zero as a placeholder for your grade. And I've told you this a couple times already, so hopefully you know it already. But if you get a zero, don't worry, it's not necessarily an F. It's just a placeholder until I get your project, right? When you turn in your project, when I get it, I'll change the grade to whatever grade it's going to be. But if at the end of the trimester, if you haven't turned in your work, the zero is a zero, and that will lower your grade. So don't let that happen. Just turn in your work. It's okay if it comes in late. Try not to. Try to get your work turned in on time. But if it's late, that's fine. Just turn it in. So that way the zero doesn't remain a zero at the end of the trimester. So don't forget, you can turn in your work and I will change your grade up until the end of the trimester. And you're like, wow, Mr. Smith, why are you saying that so much? Because I know some students will freak out when they see that zero. No need to worry. Just finish your work and turn it in and you'll be fine. All right? Sounds good. What else do I want to say? I think that's it. So let's go to the Godzilla of the week. Oh, so the Godzilla of the week, it was tied between Mecha King Ghidorah and Destroyer. So, and I apologize, I think I didn't put it in for, the quiz didn't work right for 5th grade. I didn't set it up right. So sorry, 5th graders, you didn't get to vote, but that's okay. You're fine. You still get to see the Godzilla. So it was a tie between Destroyer and Mecha King Ghidorah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you King Ghidorah. Mecha King Ghidorah today, and we're not going to have a survey next week. I'll just show you Destroyer next week because he tied. So no quiz, Godzilla quiz next week. I'm just going to show you Destroyer next week. But for today, here's Mecha King Ghidorah. So here he is. He's pretty awesome. Let's see here. So this Godzilla was in, I don't know, he was in the 1991 version of Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. And he's even got cool stuff on the ends of his tails. Robot stuff. And this is a pretty cool movie for back in the day. What happened was halfway through the movie, you know, King Ghidorah gets defeated. And I think he loses a head. And so at the end of the movie, they repair him and he fights Godzilla again. I don't remember. I don't want to spoil the movie, but it is Mecha King Ghidorah was cool in the movie. So that's all I got to say. And that's why I got this model. This model is made out of resin, not out of vinyl. The other models are made out of vinyl, which is a soft plastic. Resin is kind of like a hard plastic, and so he's like super brittle, and he can break real easy, and that's kind of scary. And also, like, parts are heavy on a resin kit. So like for this wing, like there's a peg here, right, that it plugs in. But I had to use a piece of metal, like the end of a paper clip. I'd cut it off and drill a little hole for support for wings like this. Otherwise these wings would just fall right off. So resin's a little trickier to work on, but they hold a lot more detail. Let me see if you can see the detail in the wing. Is that going to blur? There's like texture in the wing. I don't think you're able to see it. Whatever, it's alright. But there's like really cool texture in the wing that you wouldn't be able to get in vinyl. So, it's like a grid. Okay, that's it. That's Godzilla of the week. Okay, So next week, no quiz, or this week, no quiz, and I'll just show you Destroyer next week because they were tied. They were tied for 13 votes each. So that's it for this part of the lesson. Let's go on to the art part. So we're going to talk about art now. Hi, fifth graders. We are working on a new project, and it is Warped Checkerboard. And this is not a finished one, but this is kind of what it's going to look like. I left my finished ones at school, but I'll show you next week. I'll show you a finished one when we finish it. This is a 2-week project, so we'll work on it this week and next week as well. But you can see that it has some elements of perspective. So we've talked about perspective. But it also has this checkerboard effect, and it's kind of interesting. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so where do we begin? You start with, at school, you would have gotten this square paper. The square paper is actually 8 inches by 8 inches. So for some reason, you didn't get the paper, or you're remote only, or you just forgot and you just want to start today. If you have copy paper at home, you can just take a blank piece of paper, but it needs to be a square, and it needs to be 8 inches. So it's like 8 inches this way. Let's see. Yep, 8 inches by 8 inches. So like a regular paper is 8.5. So you cut off like half an inch on the bottom, and then you cut off like, I don't know, like a few inches this way, like 3, I think. So, but that's it. 8 inches by 8 inches, right? But I pre-cut this paper for you, so if you got it from school, then you're good to go. The nice thing about the paper from school, it's a little thicker than this too. This is kind of thin. If you're using copy paper is kind of thin. The paper from school is a little thicker, it's nicer. Okay, great. First step, put your name on the back. So you're gonna put your name on the back of your paper. Whoever, about this size, not too small, not too big. And then whatever teacher you have, if you have Corver, you're going to put a K, circle it. If you have Vanderkerk's, probably like VD, circle, no, VK, Vanderkerk, VD, Vanderdusen, right? And then who am I missing? Oh, Woodhead, W, right. Okay, so there we go. So we have our 8 by 8. Now what we're going to do is you need a ruler. Oh, did I not put ruler on? Oh, I meant to say ruler. It's supposed to be ruler on that little material. So you need a ruler. Ruler. Okay, hopefully you have one at home. If you don't have a ruler at home, you can use like the straight, you can use like any kind of straight, like I can use an edge of a folder, but obviously a ruler is better. A ruler. If you don't have a ruler at home, you say, hey mom, mom or dad, we should probably get a ruler. You don't use rulers as much nowadays. Like 30 years ago, this was essential. Now in the computer age, this isn't as essential, but you should still have a ruler laying around the house. Anyways, where do we begin? We, from corner to corner, you're going to draw a line. And let's see, this line, try not to make it too dark. I'm going to make mine dark so that you can see it. It can be medium dark. Hopefully we're going to trace it. Okay, so anyways, I did that. Then I'm going to go from this corner to this corner. So I'm just going to flip my paper. It's going to corner to corner, so that's easy. Yeah. Okay. Ooh. Okay. So it's like an X, right? Then I want to find the center and draw my line, and I want to center and draw my line here. Basically, you're going to line up your ruler right on that midpoint, and you're going to draw a line. So you're kind of cutting that in half too. We cut it in half diagonally already. Now we're going to cut it in half this way and this way. So this isn't so difficult, and it's make sure it gets right on that center point, right? Like don't do something like this and go, oh, I'm going to draw my line now, and like totally miss that center. No, don't miss the center. If you miss it a little bit, let's see, did I miss it? No, I got it pretty good. If you're like slightly off, that's okay. But like don't like, you know, if it's way off, yeah, you got to redo it. You got to redo it. Okay, so that's step one. That's the easy part. So we basically from corner to corner drew our lines, and then center, we had a center line, center line. They're all intersecting at our vanishing point. You could call this our vanishing point. It's a little different than what we did perspective the first time because we're just going to do this wavy, warped checkerboard, and it's going to be kind of tricky, believe it or not. Now, like I said, this is not finished, but the hardest part, so don't rush this part, students, is these curves. And I've taught this before. This is hard to do, to make this curve. You're like, I can do that, Mr. Smith. No problem. No problem. I got it. You'd be surprised. This is very difficult. So I'm going to go slow and show you, but that's kind of what we want to do today. We just want to get our drawing done today. We'll color it next week. And don't start coloring it either. It's easy to mess up. So just wait for next week and I'll show you. We got to like skip every other one and it's kind of tricky. So just be aware of that. Okay. All right, so here we go. So we want to do those curves, and let's see, how many do we want? Well, we want like 3 or 4. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a bad one. I'm going to do what not to do and what to do, because some of you might have a problem like this. Here, I'm going to do this real quick. This won't take long. Okay, so this one's going to be my no. Let's see, where do I put the no? Okay, so this is my no paper. Okay, but what we want to do correctly is this. You want to draw a bended line that's curved, right? And so it's not a straight line. It's going to curve, kind of like a C. Not as much as not as much of a curve as a C, but it's almost a C, almost a C. And if it's a C, I'd rather it be closer to a C than like not curved at all, right? So watch, I'm going to show you. So I'm going to go C. I'm going to do. So it's like it curves. That's almost like a C. So let me show you. Okay, and I'm going to do, don't draw it yet. Don't draw it yet, because I'm going to do a couple good ones, and I'll show you some bad ones, like what not to do. The hard part is students don't bend it enough. Like they're like, I can't. Like they don't. It's hard. It's hard to wrap your brain around. That's why I'm showing you very slowly, because this is the hardest part. Coloring, it's not that bad. Okay, here we go. I'm coloring again here, or not coloring. I'm drawing a C. So let's see, C. Can you see? Well, and it's really. Oh, my thumb's in the way. But you can see that really bends. It's almost like I started here, kind of went along that line, and then came around, and then kind of stopped like right here almost. So 1, 2. We want to get at least 3 or 4 of these. Let's see, how many did I have? 1, 2, 3. 4 is nice. If you have an extra one, like a 5th one, that's okay. Let's try to get 4 in here. Let's try to get 4. So I got 1, 2. So the first one's very small. Second one is getting a little bigger. Technically, these need to get like spaced out a little more as they get closer, but if they're not super, if you run out of room, it's okay. So let's see. Here's my next. It's so hard to, I can't draw around the tripod. That's I just gotta do it this way. Here, I'll do it like this. So it's gonna be, I'm gonna start about here and it's gonna go C. It's like a big C, right? And that, it's almost like a pipe going into like an oil refinery. Right? Okay, so I want a 4th one. Now for my 4th one, it's almost like it's either on the edge. Sometimes you like run out of space. If you run out of space, you just kind of imagine this line continues and you just kind of like, you think about it and then you draw in here. Watch, I'll show you. But I have enough space. I do have enough space, so I'm gonna start right here. So watch, I'm gonna go. And remember, it's gonna curve a lot. Curve it like way more than you think, because you won't curve it enough. My students never curve it enough. So there it is. And that's pretty good. So these look like, it looks like a pipe almost, like a rod going into space. Now, you're probably thinking, wouldn't there probably be another curve here? But it's kind of like off the page, right? Should I draw that? This one I could almost leave alone because it's kind of like a big space here, but I am going to draw, like, so I'm going to imagine, you have to imagine, you have to use like spatial thinking in your mind, which I know you can do. But imagine that this line kind of goes out further and this line goes out further. And probably about, like, where would I start my next line? I'd probably be about here. Then I'm going to imagine drawing, because I don't want to draw on my table, I'm going to kind of imagine drawing like here. But then when I get to my paper, I'm going to draw a little bit of that curve, but then it's going to kind of come off. I'm going to kind of imagine it connecting over there again. So it's okay to add a little extra line there. It might look nice. But okay, there it is. That was probably hard to do. Okay, so let me show you what not to do. So this is good. Good. Okay, here we go. Here's no. Here's the no. So don't do this. All right, it's like that's not enough. You're like, okay, that's not enough. It's usually what I get. That's not enough. That's a grid. That's not a warped. It needs to be like, it's like a ripple. It's like think of it like a pipe. It's like a oil pipe. You're like, I don't like oil pipes though, because that's bad for the environment. I know, but we need oil. A water pipe? It's a water pipe. Yeah. It's bringing water to, I don't know, people who need water. Okay. Okay, so there it is. This is wrong. Let me show you another way to do it wrong, where it's just like straight. It's like, wrong. No, 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 no. No. No, not enough. Not enough. Okay. Back to what's correct. Okay, here we go. Now here's the tricky part. Now we need to go the opposite way. It's like an opposite C. You're like, oh my gosh, Mr. Smith, you're blowing my mind. I know some of you are like yawning, like ho hum, but I know I get a lot of these drawn incorrectly. That's why I'm going slow and showing you very carefully. So watch. I'm going to turn my paper around just so it can help me. Now the C goes the other way. And you want it to kind of connect. So you can kind of imagine, here's my C, and it kind of stops kind of about right here. Like the C kind of goes around here, and it kind of stops right here. And then right here, I'm going to go a C the opposite way. It's going to go up instead of, this is kind of going down. So watch. C, really curvy. There, see? So I started here, and then here's kind of the end point for my next one. Here's kind of the end point here. And so then you want to find, well, where's the end point for here? Well, it's kind of right about here. Okay, so I need another C. Remember, this is going to totally curve out. Total curve. Oh, more curve, the better. Because you won't curve it enough. I promise you, you won't. So super curve. And then here's the end. They connect, right? Okay, here we go. Big curve. I'm going for the big curve. Big curve. It's like a C. Oh, dude. It's because I'm drawing. Okay, here we go. Okay. And then again here, so I got three good ones in here, but here it's kind of like, it looks like I should have another one here, but like I run out of paper. So what am I going to do? Here, let me show you on this screw up paper. So watch. You could imagine it. I told you to imagine. Like I told you, like you start drawing it and then you stop drawing, but you kind of keep moving your pencil, but you don't mark on the table, and then you kind of come back. Well, another thing you could do is you could actually use another piece of paper. You could just extend your paper. Like this is like a temporary extension, right? So here, let me try it. I'm going to go, this is going to go out here. This is going to go out here. So this is like a scratch piece of paper, right? Oh, well now it's like no problem, right? This might help you. And if it helps you, great. So let's see, my fourth line is going to be right about here, and it's going to like really curve. It's going to go like, whoa, and it's going to kind of connect there. So you really only see this line. But I drew the whole curve, and you're like, well, that's not necessary, Mr. Smith. I could have just kind of drawn that line. You'd be surprised. There's a reason why I'm showing this to you. What happens is, I can't really do it, but you probably wouldn't have drawn, if you weren't thinking about the edges that go way beyond your paper, you probably just would have drawn your line kind of like that. And it wouldn't have been as accurate. That's why you have to kind of think beyond your paper sometimes. Or the picture frame. It's like the picture frame, right? This is like, if it was a movie screen, this would be like off camera, right? So you have to think beyond that camera space or that picture plane. And so that really helped me get that one line right. And you're probably thinking, Mr. Smith, does that really matter? Like, do you really have to think that hard and deeply about drawing that particular line? And the answer is yes. You're like, but I'm in 5th grade. I know you're in 5th grade. So maybe your parents will probably think it doesn't matter. And you're probably thinking it doesn't matter. But as you mature as an artist, and I know that's a trick. It's a complicated trick. But as you grow as an artist, if you're doing this in high school and in college, you may not, but if you do, you're going to do that stuff. That's because it's kind of a mature way to look at art. For now, you're right. It's not that crucial, but it is more accurate and it does look more. It looks better because it's what it should be. But anyways, that was a trick. Something to keep in mind. Okay, so now I'm going back. So let's see. Should we do the wrong way? What happens is if you don't do big enough curves and you curve the other way, it's not very effective. Maybe you're like, I get this a lot, right? And you're like, oh, it's still curving, Mr. Smith, it's still curving. Kind of. Like here, I'm like, right? It's curving a little bit, but it's not as effective. It's not as warped and it's not as dynamic. So try to avoid that. Try to avoid that. And then the straight ones, boy, there's like, you can't even go the opposite way. It's like, they're just straight. So that's a no. No, don't do that. Okay. But this is hard to do. So I feel your pain. Okay, so now I want to go the opposite way, right? The opposite way. So I'm going to turn my paper. It's going to help me. So I'm just going to go this way. So curve, right? And it kind of connects here. Remember though, this line is the corner. So it's like this is a piece. So it's like this is one piece here. This is a piece. That's a piece. This is a piece, right? Okay, anyways. But this connects, it doesn't look like it connects here, but if it's a C, it kind of goes here and then it kind of stops here. So keep that in mind. That's also kind of tricky. This one kind of curves in here. That one didn't curve very well. What was wrong with me? So it probably curves into about right here. And then this one's going to curve this way. And then I'm going to try not to break my pencil. There. That one didn't curve. It curved, but I could have curved it more. Here, I'm going to flip my paper so I can curve it more. So then this one's, so right about here, right? You want to kind of imagine that. Curve. Oh, I didn't curve it very much. Ooh. Okay. And then this one, I got a curve. Let's see. This one's going to go off the paper. I'm not going to have my extension. You know, why not? I'll have my extension paper. Let's see what we got. It's going to get complicated. Okay, here we go. So it's probably like that. And your question is, do I need another one? This one looks like it's close, but I don't think I need another one there. Okay. Keep breaking my pencil. Then it's going to go the opposite way, right? So this was going in, now it's going to go out around. So you just know it's the opposite every other one. So this one's going to, so right about here, it's going to curve out. I'm going to do mine a little faster now, just because hopefully you got it, but you go slow. And remember, curve that as much as you can. Think of it like a C. It's like a C. Oh, look, this one's going to go off the page, so I'm going for it. I'm using my paper here. Extra paper. Okay. And then probably my other one's going to go like... that one's like all off. Right? It's okay. Okay, and then I'm going to go this way. This way. Whoa, I need to curve more. Sometimes these are big spaces and it's hard to make a curve that goes all the way. So I'm older and I've done this a million times, so I'm just like confidently drawing my curvy, and I've also done this project a bunch of times, so I'm confidently just drawing my lines real easily, like just curve, right? If you're having a hard time doing that, do it real lightly, and if you screw up, just erase, right? Try to curve it as much as you can, and then erase it. When you erase though, hold your paper. Don't just go like, I'll do it on the no paper. Don't just go like this. See how that can be bad? When you erase, hold your paper like I'm holding it here and I'm holding it here, and I would carefully erase. That way you don't scrunch up your paper, because that's no good. It looks terrible when that happens. Anyways, here I go. I'm going to draw my line. And I'm just going to wing it here. So it's probably going to start here. It's going to go off. Okay. Then I go the opposite way. So these are curving in, these are going to curve out. It's the opposite. So I'm going to curve here, curve, big curve, like a C, C, C. Now this one goes off. I'm going to use my paper. Let's see. It's probably right here. It's going to go C. Yeah, okay. Okay. And then this goes this way. In. Can you see them? Yeah, you can see them. Remember, take your time. I've done this like 50 million times. That's why I can confidently draw my lines. If this looks easy, it's because I've done this 50 million times. But you take your time and just be careful. These lines matter, trying to get them just right. Okay, so then my last one, I got to curve back out again. So I'm going to curve back out. And you want these to kind of connect. So like this part's connecting to here. This one will kind of connect to like here. So it's like there's the end of that one. Here's this one. So let me see if I can draw it without getting in the way. This one's going to go like that. Like they kind of connect. And then this one is going to connect to this one. Notice how some of my lines are like, I'm so focused on curving it that like I don't just stop at that line. Like I kind of went a little beyond it. That's okay. I mean, like you can erase that part or just kind of ignore it. But whatever. It's better to get a good curve, and if it goes a little beyond the line, that's okay. Like, okay, here we go. Big curve, big curve, big curve. Ooh, okay. And then finally, like I got this one. Here's the end of this one, and then this one kind of goes off. So I guess I got my paper is getting confusing. My scratch paper. So let's see here. It's gonna go like, boy, you're not even gonna see this. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so that's it. So here's my. It's kind of warped. It kind of looks like I could have another thing here. Let's see. I'm going to have a little bit there, maybe a little bit here. Now you're Mr. Smith. You didn't draw your thing. Yeah, I know. It's close enough. I'm saving time for your sake. Okay, that's pretty good. Boy, it kind of looks like I need something here too. It's like right on the edge. Like this one, see how this one's bigger? So like I have more room for that. I'm just going to do it. Just a tip there. So that way it's kind of like, you know, something's there. So this looks like a checkerboard that's like wavy lines, and it got all like, it's getting all crinkled. It's like cloth that got all ripply and funky. Next week we're going to color this. But here's what I want you to do. Hopefully you have a Sharpie or a fine point Sharpie at home. So you may not, or this is an ultra fine point Sharpie. This is a fine point. So I want you to trace your lines carefully with your ruler and to outline this. If all you have is a Sharpie, that's fine. But the ultra fine point is even better. So like this is the, you know, we've used this before, right? So some of you may have, like we use this for we use this for our Starbucks doodle. So if you kept this at home, I want you to return it to school. But if you haven't returned it to school yet, then you can use it again, right? You can use it for this project. But if you did return it to school, great. I wanted you to return it to school. And maybe you have one of these lying around the house. If not, you could probably use this one. Most people have a Sharpie at home. If you don't have a Sharpie at home, say, hey, Mom and Dad, can we get a Sharpie? Like, I think you need one. Like, most people need a Sharpie at one point in their life. And say, I could use it for art too. Right? Okay, so here's what I recommend though. If you have both, you're gonna use the regular Sharpie for just the diagonal lines, right? And then you're gonna use the fine point Sharpie for the lines in the middle. But in all honesty, if you don't have this works pretty good for all of your lines. In fact, maybe I'll just use this for all my lines. Let's try it. The problem is I need a big piece of paper. Let's see what we got here. Oh, wait, I'm gonna grab one. I don't want to mark my paper. And if you're working at home, put down some newspaper. Like if you're using Sharpies, like on your kitchen table, oh boy, your parents are going to be mad. This stuff, it's permanent. It says permanent, right? So don't put paper down. I don't want your parents being upset with me
And I would be upset with my kids if they did that too. Also, it makes it a little easier. You don't have to be so timid when you get to the edge because there's like, oh, I got this scratch paper I can mark on. It's like no big deal. I can go right off the paper. You know, just be careful. Don't get it on your table. So, but you definitely want to outline these because this will make our project look way better. Also, it'll make it easier when we color it in. When we color it in, these big, thick black lines will they'll make it easier to color in, so you don't kind of go outside the lines. Now, let me try. I got a feeling that this is going to be better than the fine point Sharpie, but let me try the fine point Sharpie. So let's see here. Now, even though this doesn't curve very much, like look at that. See how like this should kind of connect to that. So I can almost connect it a little more that way. Oh yeah, this does look good. And then I can even add a little bit of a curve more so it connects here. Let's see. Yeah. Actually, this works pretty good. Let me try another one. We'll compare. I'll let you decide. Oh, I messed up a little there. All right, and then I'm going to do this one. Okay, and then I'm going to do this one. Okay, so I did them. Now let me try the regular Sharpie. Oh, they're very similar. I kind of like this one better. Why? Because it's just a nice bold line. But be careful when you do it, right? Yeah. Kind of messed up there. Just kind of blend it in. Okay. Yeah, I like this better than that. So here, I'll just trace over these. So I guess you just need a regular Sharpie. And you should have one of these at home. If you don't have one of these at home, you should go get one. So Mr. Smith, your parent might be like, Mr. Smith can't tell me anything to do. That's fine, but you should have a Sharpie at home. They're like useful for so many things. Like putting your name on your lunch. If you have a brown bag, you're like, I've never done that. Oh my gosh. You've got it good if you don't know what a brown bag is for lunch. You got it good. Students use brown. A long time ago, back in my day when I was a kid, brown bags were more common because we didn't have as many lunch options. Now, like at Valley, you got all kinds of lunch options, so you don't need a brown bag. But you basically, your parent made your lunch and they put it in this brown paper sack and you brought it to school. It was a real common thing. But nowadays, like at Valley, you got all those fancy lunches and stuff that you can get, so you may not even have a brown bag. They don't even make brown bags are, they don't make them as much as they used to, but they're kind of cool. They're like nice little paper sacks. They're biodegradable, recyclable. But when I was a kid, I had a brown bag. They call it brown bag in it. Like it's when you just you bring a lunch from home. I did that all the time. So basically, I'm just tracing my lines here. And if you can add a little bit of a curve while you're inking it, go for it. Like you can kind of maybe correct your edges a little more while you're inking it. There's nothing wrong in that because the pencil line can be erased. And so you like this one looks kind of like I can maybe curve that a little better while I'm inking it. So keep that in mind too. There, I kind of adjusted a little more. I recommend though that when you do this, you do one like line at a time. Don't just kind of go all the way around. That will make your lines flatter. So if you do one set of curves at a time, they'll be rounder, and that's kind of like there. See, I totally adjusted that one. It's kind of hard to see, but my pencil is there, so I totally adjusted it. So you can that's legit. You can do that. That's a common thing. Oh, messed up a little bit there. Okay, I'm almost done. Take your time when you do this. I'm going a little faster than... Okay, so I did it. So now, once you're done with this, you let it dry for a little bit. Let it dry for a little bit, and then you want to go in and just erase some of those extra pencil lines. Like, let's see. Like, mine looks pretty good, but if I zoom in, let's see. Yeah, you can see some pencil lines in there. So I just want to erase that, but I want to erase it carefully. This like white, I don't know what high polymer. I guess I don't know what this white plastic stuff is. This works better than the pink eraser, um, but whatever. Now again, I've taught you this before, but see all this gunk here? When you're going to erase, if it's like really dark and gunky, that might smear like pencil gunk on your paper. So I usually erase it, like I kind of clean it by erasing the gunk off my eraser first. That's a trip. That's a trick. That's a pro tip, and it's also a trick. Okay, here we go. But anyways, you erase that. Okay, there we go. I don't know, it's pretty good. Now I can go in. Now remember, you hold your paper. Don't just go like this and crinkle your paper. You hold it and you just very carefully. You don't have to erase super hard either. Just take your time, especially with this kind of eraser. This like, oh, did you see that? I wasn't holding my paper down very well. Luckily, it wasn't too bad. Okay. So hold your paper down. Let me show you. Okay, so that's it. So that's all we're doing today. Next week, we're going to color it. Don't start coloring it because you'll mess up. You're like, oh, I got it, Mr. Smith. I got it. No, no, no. This is tricky because if you get the wrong spot, it'll mess up. So next week we'll start coloring. We'll start coloring. I'll show you the way to help us color this carefully, right? So, but anyways, that's it for today. But let me show you one more thing. This is all you need to finish for this week. And you don't have to show me a picture of this this week. You don't have to submit it. You can just submit like next week when we're totally finished, and it's going to be more finished than this. We're going to have all kinds of detail in there. It's going to look good. Then you can just send me one picture of just the finished one. You don't need to see your progress. That's okay. Like I know you're working on it or you're getting to it. But I do want to see your finished version. You can bring it to school or whatever. But let me show you one more trick about using Sharpies. Like when you're drawing these lines, these like these straight diagonal lines, if you go too fast, your Sharpie will run out of ink. But this one's new, so maybe it won't look so bad. Let's try it. Oh, I got it. I got to mess up right away. Perfect. So if you go too fast making these lines, look at it. See how it's like, I don't know, like the ink didn't have enough time to flow through the tip and like saturate the paper, I guess is the best way to say that. And so it's kind of gray and kind of like, I don't know, kind of broken up, right? So what I was going to say is, and it's probably too late because you probably already did the other part, but when you draw those lines, do them slowly. And that way the ink will slowly go out of your pen, and watch, you'll see it's going to be night and day. Now, if you have like a brand new Sharpie, it's going to flow and it won't be a problem. But watch. Ta-da! Like, look at the difference. This one's like super gray. It's because I went really fast with my Sharpie. This one I went slower. You want to be careful. If you go too slow, see how I got these little dots? That's probably still better than this. But you want to just go slowly. Try not to stop and go, stop and go, stop and go. You'll get dots. But if you just kind of go slowly, it'll be darker. This is too fast. Like I said, new Sharpies usually don't have this problem because there's plenty of ink. Also, if your cap is off on your Sharpie for a long time, it'll start to look like that. And so just cap it, let it rest for like a couple minutes. I don't think shaking does anything, but cap it, and then when you go again, it'll be a little darker. But when you go slow, it's going to be there. See, so slow, fast, and it's kind of like gray and messed up. So just go slow. You're not going to have a problem on your curves on your C's because you're going to be real careful. So you'll probably just naturally go slow, and it'll be a darker line. Anyways, that's it. So next week we're going to color this. This is our first week of warped checkerboard. It's going to look like a warped checkerboard. It has elements of perspective in there, and but it's also a lot of fun. But it is tricky, so make sure you follow those lines. Oh, one more thing to tell you. Um, so projects are due, right? So if a project is due, I'm going to grade it. And don't forget, I told you if you get a 0, I can change it. That's not permanent, it's temporary. But what happens if you did turn in your homework? If you did turn in your homework and you still get a 0, what happens? Like, I'm not going to give you a 0 if you turned in your work. So probably what happened is maybe your paper didn't have a name on it. So like I didn't know that it belonged to you, so I didn't grade it yet. So I might have your project, but maybe it doesn't have your name on it, and that's why you have a 0. So if you get a 0 and you did turn in your work, just send me a nice email. Say, hey, Mr. Smith, I did turn in my project. Can you check to see if it's a no name? The problem is if it's a no name, I have to I don't know, I have to get a picture of it and send it back to you, or just look. If I only have one no name, then maybe the problem is I'm gonna have a lot of no names. But if it is only one no name, then I should show you right now because I got some no names. Here. Since I got you on the line, here's some no names. So I got some beautiful Starbucks doodles. Like, who did this? Let me know. Send me an email. So this is number 1. Number 1. I don't know who did this. It's beautiful. So this person's going to get a 0. Not because it's bad. It's just because I don't know who it belongs to. So if this belongs to you, this is going to be number 1. I have a few to show you. If this is number 1, you're like, oh, Mr. Smith, I'm number 1. Okay, great. Then I'll give you a grade. It's nice. It's good. So that's one that I have a no name for. Here's another one. This one's beautiful. I love it. Who did it? It's so cool. I don't see a name. Okay, does this belong? This is number 2. So if you're like, oh, Mr. Smith, that's totally me, number 2. Okay. I love it. This one's awesome. So no name though. So let me know if that's you. Oh, look at this one. Gorgeous. Now it looks like they might have started to make their name, but I don't know what that is. I can't read that. So does this belong to you? This one's number 3. So number 3. Is this yours? Look at that. That was... Whoever did this, you're awesome. Perfect. That's what I like to do. This is the kind of stuff I like to do. But I don't know who it is. I might have some other no names, but like for our VCS, I don't have them with me at home. So if one of those was yours, let me know, and I'll put a grade in for you. So, but email me, right? Anyways, that's it for our class today. So have a great week, and have a fun weekend, and I'll see you next time. Bye.